listening to the Laundromat Resource Podcast, the show by laundromat owners for laundromat owners, with your host, Jordan Berry.
All right, what's up, guys? This is Jordan from the Laundromat Resource Podcast. We have made it to the end of our first hand. This is show number 5. I hope you're excited to be here. Today is a very special day because we have on a couple of guests who have been in the laundromat industry for 40 years. That's not combined years. That's 40 actual years they've been in the industry, and they have run the gambit of anything there is to do in the laundromat industry, from building. They've built over 800 laundromats. 800 laundromats. That in and of itself is worth sitting down and listening to these guys. But they've owned and operated a ton. They've been distributors. They've anything there is to do in the laundromat industry. These guys have done it, and you do not want to miss. In fact, this is only a part 1 where we're going to sit at the feet of these people and just listen to their stories and learn from them. We're going to come back with a part 2. This first one has to do with a little bit of their earlier years. Part 2 will be focused more towards the later years and current times. And man, I'm telling you, these guys are they're not only are they a wealth of knowledge and experience, but they're just great people. So we'll meet them in a minute. But first, I want to talk about a few things. The first one being, there's been a little bit of life in the forums lately. So I know I've mentioned that in the past. And I've just been so excited that there's been a little bit of life in there. So I'm in there all the time. Every day I'm peeking in there, and there's not a ton going on, but I'd love for more to be happening over there. So if you have questions, go throw those in the forum and get your questions answered over there. I'll be in there to help answer some. And hopefully, some of you, even if you don't have questions, maybe peek in at the forums and see if you can help answer some questions. That'd be awesome. I just would love for that to be a place where people can come and interact about the laundromat industry, whether they're new or experienced, whether that's about how to get into the industry or how to operate your business, any of that stuff. That's a great place to do it. So that's laundromatresource.com/forum, FORUM. And go check that out. So thanks for those of you who've been over there posting questions. That's been awesome. The second thing, I've been getting asked this all the time, and I'm actually very excited that I keep getting asked this question, but man, I'm feeling the pressure. And so I just wanted to take a second and just address it. I've put on my site that, that we'd be releasing our first book, on how to buy laundromats, last month, in April 2020. And obviously it's not out yet. And, just with some of the coronavirus stuff happening and, just kind of delays due to that, both on my part and on the part of those helping me put it together. It's just been delayed a little bit. So I'm hoping to, I'm buckling down on that thing and I'm getting it cranked out, and I'm hoping to get that out within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned and make sure you subscribe here to this podcast, not only to get great information and insight about the industry from laundromat owners, just specifically for you, but also so you can get an update on when that book's coming out. So I'll let you know there, and maybe we'll do like a giveaway and give a couple of them away. That'd be awesome. So we'll do that. And thanks for hanging tough with me on that one. And we'll get it out ASAP, because I'm excited to have it out too. And I keep there's a book request on the website for people to sign up to hear about when the book comes out and hear information about it along the way. And I've been getting more and more requests on that. So if that's you, if you're one of those people waiting for that book to come out, just hang on a little bit longer and we're almost ready to go. Now I don't want to delay too long, because we just have some great conversation today with David and Donna Stark. And again, they've been in the industry forever, and they know more about the laundromat industry than probably anyone else out there, to be honest. So, and you're going to love them as people. They're very, very sweet and very, very cool people. So I don't want to delay that too long, but before we get to them, let's take a quick break for this little message.
In today's world, if your laundromat is not online, you're losing business. Customers increasingly decide who to trust with their laundry by the quality of your web presence. But creating a professional logo and website that instills trust in potential customers and can be found on page 1 of Google can be difficult to create on your own and expensive to purchase through a traditional marketing company. As part of our mission to help laundromat owners succeed and find financial freedom through laundromat ownership, we are launching our done-for-you marketing service tailored specifically for laundromats. After ranking number 1 on Google with our own laundromat website and consulting with many others to help them do the same, we guarantee that we can build you a professional website that ranks on page 1 of Google within 6 months. Our joint expertise in the laundry industry and over 15 combined years in website design and online marketing allow us to offer affordable, transparent pricing for a high-quality web presence for your laundromats. You invest so much into providing your customers a quality laundry experience. Don't let anyone miss out on what you have to offer simply because they can't find you online. Let Laundromat Resource Marketing take care of your online presence so you can take care of your customers. Visit laundromatresource.com/getonline today for more information. That's laundromatresource.com/getonline or click on the link in the description.
All right, without further ado, let's bring in David and Donna Stark and find out who these guys are and how they got into the laundromat industry.
Yeah, well, that's pretty easy.
That's right.
how we got involved.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting because, quite frankly, it's probably not a lot different than how a lot of people get involved by mistake, rather than we had a real purpose or that we really intended to go the direction that we went. So I can recall back my parents owned apartment buildings, and my brother and I, he's a twin brother, and we thought it would be a great idea to put a washer and dryer into the apartment building. So we decided that we were going to go to find a commercial distributor that would allow us to buy a washer and dryer that we could put into the apartment building. So lo and behold, we ended up hooking up with PWS. And we happened to walk in one day and there was no salespeople available. And so Bernie Steinberg happened to be walking through the lobby and he saw us. And we told him why we didn't know who he was. And we told him why we were there. And he says, well, come into my office. So we went down and chatted with him for a while, told him what we were trying to do. And he sold us one top load washer and one dryer. So we put it into the apartment building and it worked out great. And so we said, well, why don't we start buying washers and dryers and put it into apartment buildings? So we decided we were going to do that. And then lo and behold, we came across web that controlled the entire market. They could buy all the locations and we had no money. So we couldn't do it.
That's a problem, not having any money.
That was a problem, right? So there was no way we could do it. We couldn't get in. Every apartment complex we went to, they either had contracts or they were getting paid a bunch of money in order to give the contracts. So that wasn't working. So somehow we went back to Bernie and said, well, we're not going to be buying any washers and dryers. It doesn't work. We can't get in. And he goes, well, why don't you do a laundromat? And we thought about it, and we said, okay, well, that's kind of the same thing, washers and dryers. Yeah, why don't we do that? So he hooked us up with a location to buy, and it was a little store that was right in the path of where a freeway was going. So we actually put it into escrow, and we were going to buy it for like $15,000, I think was the purchase price. And we were going to
When was this?
This would have been.
I'm sorry.
This would have been. Let's see. Well, I know I don't look old enough, but it would have been 49 years ago.
Oh my goodness! I'm having a hard time buying a single washer for $15,000, let alone a laundromat.
So we were going to buy that store. We went into escrow, and then we decided that it was not a good idea because the freeway was coming.
You don't want to be in the middle of the freeway.
We figured, this is not a good idea.
Did you have a good broker
to do this?
Who told you the freeway was coming?
No, we figured it out.
Oh.
Bernie didn't tell us the freeway was coming.
Oh, whoops, whoopsie.
So that's on
typical.
Details.
Yeah, details. So we said, no, we're not going to do it. So then he put us in touch with a store in Los Alamitos.
Okay.
And it's on Los Alamitos Boulevard. So we purchased that store, and I don't remember what the price was. Probably not much more than 15, but somewhere. And we ended up having to actually borrow $5,000 from our mother in order to come up with the down payment. And so what happened was we purchased that store. I drove by it a month ago. That store is still there.
Still there.
We should buy it.
50 years later, and that store is still operating.
Wow.
Which I found fascinating that it was actually still there. But anyway, it is. So that's actually how we got in. It was really by mistake. It was default because we couldn't figure out how to get into the apartment complexes. And so that's how we bought the very first store.
Aww. Wow. I like hearing that story. I've heard it a lot, but I like it. I'm not in the business, by the way, quite yet, Jordan, just so you know. Okay. I'm not in the business yet.
At this point in the story.
At this point in the story, yes.
Are you guys together yet or not yet?
Oh my gosh. No.
No, because she would have been 10 years old.
So okay.
No, I was still trying to get through elementary school.
All right.
That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
No.
Okay, so you got into your first one, and how did that go? How was the experience?
No, it was good. And it's really interesting when you reflect back and look at the way that you operated stores then.
Yeah.
They were unattended.
Uh-huh.
And so basically you would go through and we would go 2-3 times a day. We would clean it and so forth and take care of equipment. We do all our own repairs. We pretty much did everything.
Yeah.
Back then. And it's fascinating when you look at the stores, they were basically 95% top load washers and a couple of front load washers sitting off to one side. And that was pretty standard in the industry back then. That's pretty much what it was. And so it went fine. We did, we remodeled it, and which was kind of a natural for us growing up in the apartment complexes with our parents, because from the time we were able to walk, we were working at the apartments, either mowing lawns, putting on roofs, changing out windows, water heaters, whatever it is. We did all that stuff growing up. So it was just a natural thing for us that when we had that store and it needed to be remodeled, we just did it ourselves.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it just seemed like the thing to do. It never occurred to us that we'd hire somebody to remodel it. You just do it yourself. So that's what we did. So that store went fine. And then we came across an opportunity to buy a group of 3 stores. But we didn't have any money.
Problem.
So
I'm sensing a theme.
So Bernie said, and this was with Bernie. And so Bernie said, no problem. He goes, come with me. So he took us down. He kind of took us under his wing. He liked our enthusiasm. He liked our energy. He liked our drive. And so he said, okay, come with me. So he set up an appointment with Bank of America, downtown LA. And this was the bank that they did business with, the PWS did business with.
Okay.
So he set this appointment up. We walked in, sat down with, I guess would be his loan officer. And he says, I want you to loan these guys money to do these 3 projects. And the guy says, okay, no problem. And that was it.
Man, simpler times.
They loaned us the money. We bought 3 stores and we were off and running.
But it was also helpful that Bernie, I mean, had they just walked in on their own,
it would have never happened.
It would never have happened.
Yeah.
It was, and by the way, maybe for the audience, Bernie Steinberg is the S in PWS for those that we assume everybody knows, but for some that may not know.
Well, and for those who may not know, PWS is a laundry company, and they're a supplier. They do a bunch of stuff, and you'll hear a little bit more about what they do here in a little bit from David here. But they're a laundry company.
So David and Daryl would have been going to 20 banks themselves, but Bernie, you can tell we have a lot of love and respect for Bernie, and you'll hear more of that in a little minute. But yeah. He was very, very helpful, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it was, he was instrumental in us moving forward. And of course, it's at the end of the day, it's up to you to be able to capitalize on the opportunity.
Right.
And so either you do something with it or you don't. But, if you don't, then that's the way it goes. But if you do, then you can benefit from having relationships with people that can put it in front of you.
Yep.
So, they can open the door for you, but you got to be able to walk through it.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you don't want to walk through the door, then you're probably not going to go very far.
Yeah. Okay. So you walk through the door, and now do you have a total of 4 laundromats now?
We have 4 laundromats.
At this point in the story, you just bought 3, and did you remodel those? And how did that? What happened?
We remodeled those, and we operated those for a few years.
Unattended
stores.
Coin.
We did coin stores. We did everything ourselves. So we kind of got onto that cycle that we were going through all the stores several times a day, keeping them clean, keeping equipment operating, doing vending supplies, picking up money, going to the bank. So we got into this real
overwhelmed already.
This monotonous routine of just going through constantly. And what happened is, I would say we both sort of got burned out with the whole process because we were doing it so mechanically rather than methodical.
Yeah.
And so we weren't utilizing at that point in time expertise that we could have taken advantage of and maybe done it in a smarter way rather than just working and not going anywhere. You just feel like you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we decided to sell the stores.
Okay.
We ended up selling all the stores off.
All 4 of them?
All 4 of them.
Okay.
Peace out.
And
done.
Because of my background, we thought, well, we're builders. We can build. We can remodel. So we really got into the business of remodeling laundromats and doing equipment installations. And that was really developed along with PWS. So we would do equipment installations for them. We would do remodels of existing stores. We would go through and paint dryers that needed to be painted back before they're, stainless steel, which most of them are now. So we would go through and do remodels in stores. And we did that for a number of years.
Were you a general contractor at that point? Did you have your GC license at that point?
No.
Okay.
No, we were just doing remodels at that point. And then that really took us up to the point where Donna comes into the picture.
Yay.
So she has arrived.
Yes.
How did she arrive? Tell us about how she got into this picture here.
Well, I was 18, just graduated from high school, and obviously needed to find a job now that I wasn't in high school anymore. And I went on 3 job interviews, and one of them happened to be for a company called PWS.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, that was the job I selected. And I started working as the sales secretary. I'm 19 at this point. And in walks David and Daryl one day, and they kind of stop, and they're twin brothers. For those of you that don't know, they're twins.
Which one's
they look very much? They look very much alike. So they're both equally as handsome.
Okay.
Well, that's so sweet.
I know, isn't that nice? I know. And they stop, and David kind of takes 2 steps back because I'm obviously a new face, and I'm right in the front of the old PWS office in Commerce. And he kind of pats me on the head and kind of wants to know who I am and what my job is. So I've now entered the world of PWS, and obviously my life has changed forever. I ended up working for Bernie within a relatively short period of time. And he used to call me Curly. Not really sure why, but he called me Curly. And I became his his assistant. And Bernie was the one in charge of building stores. And so I was in charge of construction loans, and they were subleasing a lot of stores at that point. So I was in charge of all the subleases. And then at that point, then David is trying to break into the building of all of these brand new stores, because we were building a lot of stores a year. So you want to take it from there?
Yeah, there were contractors that they had been using for a number of years. And the way they had it structured was that they had a couple of plumbing contractors. Mm-hmm. They had one specific carpenter group, and they had a couple of electrical groups. And so the way that they were building the stores were basically by contracting electrical, plumbing, and carpentry through these subcontractors or contractors, as it may be, rather than using a general contractor to coordinate. And we were doing, at that point, a lot of the equipment installations in all of the new stores, but we weren't building them. So basically it was being built by these other contractors. We'd come in as part of the process, and we would install the equipment.
Right.
So we were doing that for some period of time, probably a few years that we actually did that, where we were just going in and doing the equipment side of it. And I always had in the back of my mind that these guys were getting to the point that they were being difficult to work with, mm-hmm. because they'd been doing it for so long. And they were set in their ways, and it was either their way or the highway. And quite frankly, they became difficult to work with for PWS, simply because they were not willing to go the extra step. They had so many projects that they were just pushing through them, and they really weren't very good at follow-up, detail, or come back and take care of issues, because they were already moving on to the next project.
Yeah, we couldn't get the last 10% done.
So that was kind of a problem.
Sounds like all my home projects. Can't get the last 10% done.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, like that. Exactly. And so what that did was it told me that there was an opportunity in order to go to them and say, look, we'll do the whole thing. And we'll be the general contractor and we'll coordinate all the subs and we will supply you with a finished product rather than you having to contract individually with all of the people and then chase them to try and get the work done. Then you got one central person to go to resolve your issues. So I put that forward and it went nowhere. And I thought it was such a good idea, but it didn't go anywhere. And so we continued to work. We continued to do the equipment installations, and which was not a bad gig. I mean, really, it was good. We were very busy. We put a lot of equipment into a lot of stores. So we were making a decent living doing it, but I knew that we could do more. So one day, and unbeknownst to me, which I didn't really know, was that behind the scenes, Donna was still working on it to try and get me into the new store construction.
Uh-huh.
So I came in one day and I was frustrated about the fact that we couldn't move forward.
He was not frustrated. He was very mad, and the steam was coming out of his head. So just wanted to paint the clear
telling
picture.
Telling it like it is.
Yes.
So I was ready to march into Bernie and tell him that I thought this was ridiculous. That I put forward a great opportunity for them and they weren't pursuing it. And I was going to give them a piece of my mind.
With the steam blowing out of his head all the while. And I am right outside of Bernie's office. So back in the day, there was U-shaped. So Bernie's got a big, four actually, but the three PWS had, very large offices, all the windows. And I'm sitting right outside Bernie's office at this point. Okay, continue.
So Curly
Me.
says to me, hey, you may want to wait a minute.
I wouldn't barge in right now is what I said. Very, very low under my breath. I wouldn't barge in.
I think maybe now's not the time. And I said, okay. I was mad, but that's fine. All right. I won't go in. And so lo and behold, she had been working with Bernie to get us the opportunity to build a new store. And so this was right at the time that he was prepared to say, yes, we're going to give him a shot and let him build a store. And so probably within actually a week of when I was going to go in and blow my opportunity forever, they gave me my first job.
Wow.
To build out the store.
Yay!
Yay, Donna.
Yay. Well, the contractors were causing Bernie and I a lot of fuss. The stores weren't cleaned up. They weren't cleaning up after themselves. Mm-hmm. I'm getting calls from landlords. At this point, I am organizing all of these subs myself. And of course, with Bernie, obviously. Yeah. And it just wasn't going well. They weren't being overly helpful. So I told Bernie, we have nothing to lose. We really don't, by letting David try this. Let's just see, we have nothing to lose. And so Bernie said, Curly, let me think about it. And so anyway, long story short, enter David Stark, the general contractor of Stark and Stark Enterprises, by the way. That was the very first company name.
That is true.
Yep.
But this goes back to the same thing we talked about earlier, is that, okay, now you've been given the opportunity. Can you perform? Mm-hmm. Can you actually get it built? And can you provide them with what their expectations are that you're going to give to them? So my job was to exceed their expectations. Mm-hmm. And so what do? You end up working 24 hours a day in order to make sure that that first store turns out to not only be done well, but produced on a timely basis, which is what they were having trouble with.
Because we were paying rents because the stores couldn't get completed.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get the utilities on. Well, we can go into hours of that conversation, but it was costing more money to have the three in essence. So I told David, you have to get this done on time so that we don't have to send one rent check. The first rent check will be when it's open or fairly close.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, so that was really how we got started in the construction side of it. So at that point, I was a general contractor and I was also a plumbing contractor. And so that entity was Stark and Stark Enterprises.
When was this about?
Well,
would have been, 35 years ago?
1980? So
80, 85?
80. Oh,
probably mid 80s.
Yeah, mid 80s, I would say.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Mid 80s.
And my brother had now exited the company. So he was not with me at that point in time.
He moved to Washington to raise chickens.
Yeah, so he was gone.
He pieced out.
And
sometimes that sounds nice.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of problems with chickens, by the way.
But he wanted to, he had small kids at the time, and he wanted to really go into a different environment, more of a
chicken environment.
Yeah, chicken environment.
It's the truth.
We can get onto that story.
I know.
But that's just another whole.
Yeah.
I'll have you on my chicken podcast.
No, I'm not sure that your listeners really, we got to make sure we're keeping this entertaining for the listeners, Jordan. Yeah, but no, don't go in the chicken business. I wouldn't. Okay. I wouldn't encourage you to do
we'll
that.
Pass on that.
We'll pass.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We'll stick with laundry.
Let's do that. Yeah. Right. So should we move ahead in the story? Are we being too laborious here with the small little details?
I am fascinated. I don't keep.
Okay. So, but ask questions. Maybe if you want to continue to ask questions. So if you think there's something more that we could be, because we're obviously going down memory road.
No, I'm going to tell you what interests me.
That's right. This is your 15 minutes of fame. You take it.
Sorry.
So it was fascinating that once we got the opportunity to build, then we had to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to structure that? And so being a general contractor and a plumbing contractor, it made sense to me that if we were going to do projects, we should bring a lot of the work in-house. So that's what we did with Stark and Stark, was we then said, fine, we're going to do all of our own carpentry work, and we're going to do all of our own plumbing work, because those are obviously two of the major areas involved. And obviously, we were already set up to do equipment installations, so that was nothing new. So basically, that's the way we structured the company, was to do obviously the general contracting side of it. So we would do the layouts of the laundries. We would do all the city work, all the permit work, get it ready to go. And then we would do in-house all of the carpentry work. So we would build all our own bulkheads and folding tables and bulkhead tops and whatever it was, we would do that. We'd put in all of the plumbing ourselves. So we would do obviously the water and the gas and so forth. And then we would hire a subcontractor for the electrical. We never did get directly involved with doing electrical in-house. We always subcontracted that out. And we had a couple of guys that we worked with that were quite good at it. And so we got to the point that we could churn out a lot of projects.
A lot, Jordan.
And
a lot.
Tell me about a lot.
A lot, Jordan.
So it took what Donna was doing on the inside, coordinating all of the projects from the standpoint of leases and all of the things that go on with getting projects on board that we could then build. And so it was pretty easy to move forward once we had the structure in place. And that was half the battle, was having the structure in place so that we could then produce the projects. And at that point in time, we were probably doing maybe 15 or 20 a year. So we were probably putting one out every 2 to 3 weeks or whatever it was.
It was insane.
That is quite the pace.
It went to a much higher level down the road, but that's a separate project. So that kind of comes later. So we did that for a number of years where we were building outside of the structure of PWS. And through that time, I was learning more and more about design of stores, layout of stores, and coming up with new ideas or maybe new.
Sorry.
We're back.
Lost you for a second.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And so we came up with, ways to do layouts that we thought were more efficient. And of course, then you start transitioning into more front loaders and, the industry as it evolves over time. So there was a point then where PWS came to me and says, why don't you bring this in-house? And I thought, okay.
He thought for a long time.
Yeah.
But at this point, he's designing these most beautiful laundries. Like, he really took the industry to a whole other level by the way he was designing them, because that's really his strength, is the design. I mean, it was a whole new ball game in the laundry industry, the design he was coming up with. Meanwhile, Bernie and I are patting each other on the back for this such a smart move, because Bernie's life became easier. Because I was coming to him constantly saying, Mr. Steinberg, we have got to do something. This plan currently as it stands is not working. So we solved the problem. Pretty easy. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, and I think part of the difficulty I was having during that point in time of just building was that I was also trying to work with all the different salesmen that were trying to put projects together. So they would come to me and say, okay, I've got this location, blah, 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 and how much is it going to cost to build it? They're giving you no information.
Right, yeah.
There's no layout, there's no design, there's no plans, there's no utility infrastructure information. So I became pretty good at being able to go out, analyze sites, and be able to come up with, obviously a design was not difficult. You got the dimensions and you can figure out how to lay it out and you can come up with a design. That's pretty simple. Then
for you, it was
the more difficult part was then trying to ascertain, without any information, the utility infrastructure that's going to be required in order to convert it into a laundry. Most shopping centers don't have the utility infrastructure that you need to handle what a laundry needs.
Yeah.
So you've got to have to try and figure that out and come up with a price. So you're shooting from the hip all the time.
And praying.
And praying that you get it right. And sometimes, most of the time you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss it horribly. And I don't want to get onto those ones, but I could tell you a couple of stories of ones that didn't work out so well that I was on the hook for.
Oof.
So but we could do another whole one on that. Interestingly enough, going back to the issue of where they said, we think you ought to come in-house, there was a part of that that was attractive to me from the standpoint that I would have more support than what I was getting, doing it all on my own. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. I'll go ahead and I'll make that transition in, and I will run your development department.
Yep.
So that was the transition that I made. And we actually continued to operate Stark and Stark as an entity outside. So we were contracting. I was inside, in essence, inside PWS, and we were contracting a lot of the work through Stark and Stark. And we did it as in arm's length distance, so it was being reviewed by others. So it wasn't like I was doing it and nobody knew what I was doing. Other people were reviewing the contracts, approving contracts, and so forth.
It was Bernie that was doing all of that. I mean, yeah.
Well, and Sandy.
And Sandy, yeah, and both, yeah. So is there any questions you have for us up to this point that we've taken you down this hole?
Yeah, I need to take a quick detour though, because I feel like I need to know, like, it's dangling out there and it's just driving me crazy. When did the love start to enter into this relationship here?
A long time.
Oh, well, let's see. I think because we worked so closely together for a number of years that we really thought of ourselves more as business partners than we did anything else.
Well, we kind of were. That's what we were. And we've both been married and divorced, so throw that in there.
Yeah.
But we're both divorced for several years.
So I think, I don't know how it happened.
I do. I know.
Oh.
Ask
I know
me.
she knew.
Ask me.
Donna, you tell us. How did this happen?
Bernie asked me one day. He just said, Curly, like, I don't understand. You seem to get along well. Bernie was at my first wedding. And
so was I.
And so was David Stark, by the way. Yeah. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry. Yes. So anyway, yeah, I just decided that I was going to have to ask him to go out on a date because obviously he wasn't going to ask me. So I just asked him one day. I honestly, the story has been convoluted over the years, so I'm trying to really remember exactly. But I asked him if he wanted to go on a date with me. Uh-huh. I asked him. He didn't answer right away. He just stared at me.
You know what, David? She can open the door for you, but you gotta walk through it.
There you go. You are so correct.
So we dated for, 3 months, and then I asked him to marry me because at this point now I'm 29 and I wasn't getting any younger, and I figured if I kept waiting.
It's not like we didn't know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had been working together for 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
And we had been through, it wasn't just Shangri-La, it was not being in the laundry industry. Anybody that tells you that it's all kicks and giggles is not telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So we had been through some financial issues. And
well, I think the fascinating thing is that when you think about the industry as a whole, it's much more complex than just running laundromats. That may be the end product, but there's a whole lot that goes on between being a distributor and a builder and so forth that's on the other side of the game that a lot of people never even see.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating how it all ties together, whether it's equipment or whether it's leasing or purchasing real estate or whatever it may be. The laundromat is only the end product of what it what it is as an industry. It's a big industry.
Right.
When you think of all the pieces of the puzzle that go into it.
And it's not glamorous. The laundry industry is not glamorous. I mean, it just isn't. It, people that own restaurants, that's a little more glamorous, which I would never do, by the way, but laundromats really aren't. But just to give a little forward motion on this, I mean, we have been in all facets of it. We've been distributors. We started a whole other company, which I guess will be down the road a little bit, but we've owned real estate. So we've done it all at this point in the journey. But anyway, do you want to get back to me marrying David Stark?
Yes.
That was only like 2 seconds, Jordan.
Yeah, well, bring it out. Come on. We want to know the story.
Okay, yes. I felt like I was getting shortchanged and we were getting back to building laundries.
Yeah, nobody cares about laundromats. We want to know about the love.
So I asked him to marry me. He kind of had to think about it for a minute or two, but then I just assumed he was going to say yes. So then I decided that I better not wait. And so I said, well, let's get married in like 6 weeks. So we set it for October of 1989. And then the venue we were getting married at the Surf and Sand. They were going to tear down the deck that we were going to get married on. So then we got to move it up to September 9th. So then it became like a 4-week something engagement.
Yeah, I don't know that I recall it quite the same.
How do you recall it?
I think I did ask her to marry me.
No.
In front of her mother. It was after she'd asked me to marry her.
Okay, yes. That's an important part. Yes, he did.
But I actually did.
And your mother.
At dinner, I did ask her to marry me.
And your mother. Yeah. We were at Del Mar. We owned racehorses at the time, and we were at Del Mar. And he did ask.
Oh, do you want to hear about the racehorse?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, honestly.
That's on my racehorse podcast. We'll get you on.
Okay.
Chickens first, then racehorses.
That with the chickens.
Yeah. We did own them. Anyway, the thing was Laundroland, the silks. But anywho, so I asked him, and then yes, he formally did ask me for all the viewers out there that are listening. He did. So we got married 9/9 of 89.
Yes.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So anyway, yes. And people, here's a fun fact. In our wedding cards, it said, see you in Division 2. Do you know what Division 2 is?
No.
Divorce court. Because they said there's no way that these two can run this company, get married, have a family, and not lose their minds and or get divorced. So all I needed to see was that one card that said it. And I went, oh, they don't know who they're dealing with here. No way. So here we are.
So here we are.
30 years
you
later.
Made it.
2 children. Oh no, we've made it. Believe me. He's not leaving me at this point. He has no choice.
No, hold on. There's another part to the story. I committed.
He did.
To 40 years.
He did.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I've got 10 more years to go.
No, but his mother lived to 100, so I'm quite certain we're good. But do you also want to know we have 2 children?
Yeah, I know. That's how I met you through your kids. So tell us about your kids.
Jenna Stark and Craig Stark. Craig Stark's the oldest. They're 18 months apart. And Craig's also in the laundry business now, owns his own laundry, and is the operations manager for one side of our company. So, so we have 2 children. Craig's going to be 30 and Jenna's 28. And Jenna's a firefighter for OCFA, which is how you met us through Jenna Stark.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
Who is awesome.
Okay, Jordan.
Well, okay. So we got the love. I'm just happy that
that's out.
We got the love into the podcast. It's the thing that we've been missing.
Yes.
Up to this point.
Yes.
Okay. So, we'll round out this. We're going to do a whole nother episode because you guys have such rich experience from so many different angles, like you were saying, of the laundromat industry. So we want to hear about more of that. So today we're talking a little bit more about, kind of these early days. If you had to put a number on it, how many, this just blows me away. So how many laundromats do you think you've built over the years?
800 to 900.
800 to 900.
Yes.
Laundromats.
Yes.
That
And
is
by far and away the majority of them in California. We did go back and build a number of them in Chicago, and a little bit, we did a little bit in Arizona, but mostly, predominantly California.
And under the brand of Laundroland.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and a lot of remodels. And, when the riots happened in LA, we went in and rebuilt a lot of those stores, unfortunately, that were burned to the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of them.
Wow. That's like a whole industry in and of itself worth of
that. We still drive by stores and somebody will say, because I don't know, Jordan, I'm going to just tell you this because I'm not sure if other laundry owners feel this, but everywhere we go and we try to explain what we do, David and I always look at each other and say, I don't even really know what to say at this point. But I kid you not, and Jenna, if she were here and Craig, they would say the same thing. People will say, oh, I've always wanted to own a laundry.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. I don't know how many people we have talked to, and David's so great with sharing his knowledge with everybody. That that's what we get asked. Oh, really?
Well, no, the truth of it is that I'm very good at talking about it in laundry. It is interesting though, because you have people come in and they have a perception of what it is.
Yeah.
And quite often the perception still today, believe it or not, is that they kind of operate themselves.
Yep.
Which is the biggest mistake you can make.
Absolutely.
And when I look at some of the deals they bring to me that they're looking at to buy, it scares me to death.
Yeah.
Because I can just see
disaster,
the misery that they're going to be confronted with because somebody is trying to pawn their problem off on them.
Yep.
And so I probably have discouraged more people than I have encouraged to get into it. But I feel good about that because I might have saved them a tremendous amount of heartache.
And money.
And if they choose to go forward.
And money.
Yeah. If they choose to go forward, okay. More power to them. And I hope the best for them. But I try to direct them towards, if you're going to do this, get with a good broker.
One with integrity,
One
Jordan.
that has the ability to give you the straight shot of what's going on. And you will come out ahead 99 out of 100 times if you do that, over thinking you're going to go in and do it on your own.
Yeah.
Well,
and I know that there's...
Where were you 6 or 7 years ago when I needed you?
Jordan, that's right. And David was also a broker too. He was a broker and sold laundries.
Well, I wasn't a broker. I was a real estate.
Yes.
I had a real estate license.
Right.
Yeah. So he was, yes.
And I wasn't very good at it either because I was so damn honest.
Yeah, you're like, don't buy this.
Like, nope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's so valid. Like, I mean, I've shared my story and, here before and with you guys. And,
right.
I had such a rough entry into the business. And, just the fact that you're willing to say, hey, you know what? This is not a good deal. Don't do it. I would have paid thousands of dollars to hear that because it would have saved me tens of thousands of dollars.
It's true.
In the long run. So I mean, just having that wisdom is, and just the willingness to share with other people, I think.
Right. Yeah.
That's key one. You've got to start with somebody that knows what they're doing to sell it to you, and with integrity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the number one thing I tell people now too. And even when you get somebody like that, even just having a third party, someone like you who knows what they're doing, who can just double check everything.
Yep.
And, who knows the industry and who can tell you, you know what, pass on this one, or this one's
right.
good. Yeah.
We pass on them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the last thing I need to do is take somebody new coming into the business and lead them astray. Because when it goes bad, then they're going to come back to me and they're going to say, well, couldn't you have warned me about this or this or this? So at least if you lay it out for them, then it's up to them to make the decision. I can't control that, but I can certainly control what information I give them so that they have an opportunity then to make an informed decision on what they're doing.
Yeah.
David Stark is a good person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, you guys both are amazing and incredible. And I just want to, we'll wrap up this section right now, but right before we do, let's just do a quick snapshot. What is your business? We'll talk about this more in depth, in the next episode that we do together. But give us a quick snapshot. What does your business look like right now? How many laundromats do you own? What are you guys doing? Are you guys still building? General information.
Yeah, we are not building per se. We would if somebody, well, let me phrase that. I don't know that I would if somebody came to me, because they do come to me from time to time and still ask me if we would build one, and we just basically say no. I would build one for myself. So if I was going to get back on and build one, because we no longer have the infrastructure, obviously, of the employees. So we would end up we would general it and subcontract to different contractors. But I would do it if I was building one for myself, which is not out of the realm of possibility that could still happen somewhere. We're operating 4 stores now, all stores that we originally built. And our son's operating a store that he owns that we originally built. And all of those stores were built under the Sparkling name, which was the distribution company that came later than where we are
in the story right now. So when we built them, we kept them. So these stores weren't built and sold, and we came back and rebought them. We built them and we operated them right out of the gate, except for one in Riverside, which is another story. But the three we built and operated them right out of the gate. So that's what we own. You guys have a pretty successful
pickup and delivery service also, right?
And that's the newest thing on board to our company. That was the latest thing that was just launched about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
But we've been doing fluff and fold for a very long time now. It's hard to believe how long, but it's for a very long time.
Yeah, we've probably been doing the fluff and fold for maybe 4 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So we do fluff and fold at 2 of the locations. Okay. And we do a pretty large commercial account business as well. And then the residential is the last thing that has come on to the corporation in the last year. Okay. We've added that piece.
Awesome. Well, I mean, your guys' story is incredible. Your love story, incredible. Donna, way to be a go-getter. And just find what you want and then go after.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah. Oh, no, I knew. Once Bernie put the little seed in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I don't understand. Why don't I ask this guy to marry me? So, yes. Yeah. I'm kind of like that, Jordan. I get something in my mind and I don't get derailed ever, actually.
Yeah.
Ever.
That's a great
set
quality.
My mind to something and I'm like, oh, no, this is the way this is going to go.
This is it.
And David Stark's a good sport.
Yeah.
Because I always have side hustles too. And he just says, Donna, honestly, no more side hustles. I'm like, but they're so much fun.
Yeah.
According to whom, I don't know, maybe just me. But anyway.
If you're listening to this, David is just shaking his head right now.
I know. I still have side hustle ideas. Yeah. And he just says no. And Jenna actually has side hustle ideas too, which I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But Jordan, thank you for having us and letting us do this with you.
Well, I can't let you go yet. I still have a couple more questions to ask you.
Of course.
That I want to get into. So don't thank me yet. But I want to know this. Okay, we have a little section that we like to call the secret sauce.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
Yes.
And I want to know what's something that's working really well in your business right now that other owners can implement that, can help their businesses improve.
Yeah.
This one's you.
Yes, this one's me.
She's got this.
Yeah. So because we just don't own one store that's just a walk-in laundry, we've diversified so much over all these years that it became very clear to me that we needed a website. And not just a website that you build on your own, because there's so many that you can build on your own. I knew we needed a company that knew what they were doing to do it. Uh-huh. And I probably looked for 3 years and I just couldn't find somebody that I thought was a good fit for me, because I was going to be the one working directly with this company. Uh-huh. And we just hit the lottery. It's a company called Creative Marketing Services. They built our website, which is beyond fabulous. They handle all the changes that need to be done to it, especially with this latest version of COVID-19. I just can't tell you the work that they did on it to let everybody know that we were still open. And then they also do all of our marketing, all of our online marketing, Google Analytics, our SEO work, everything having to do with our marketing, from the walk-in traffic to the fluff and fold traffic, to the residential and commercial side of the business. And then we also, from now and then, we have people that want to rent out our laundries for movies, commercials, and things like that. And so the website's beyond beautiful. And then she works with a company called Harmony 3 Productions that does all of our video. And on our website right now, there's a video that I don't even need to tell people what we do. They just go to the website and click the video, and they can see how the residential service works. So that's the key to me. If you own multiple stores and you really want to do something other than just do a walk-in type of business, uh-huh. You need the market, because people validate you through your website.
Yep.
If your website is wonky and looks like it was built 98 years ago, people will more than likely move on and find something that is very professional looking and run well. And Creative Marketing Services is the real deal. That was the game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. It's such especially when you get into that, pickup and delivery, the online stuff is crucial, because
it is.
There are no phone books anymore. That's where people find you.
Yep.
And get to know you and learn that they can trust you. And, so even having,
I don't think a lot of people understand just how valuable that is. Mm-hmm. When you think about the dollars being spent, it's probably the best dollars you'll ever spend.
It is.
And when you look at it from the standpoint of trying to do advertising, and in essence, that's really what it is. Right. You're advertising your product, and it's probably by far the best dollars you'll spend.
And it's brand awareness too. We've created a brand over the years, and it's brand awareness. The ads that they are running right now for Mother's Day in particular, and just the pickup service with Mother's Day, I see them come through on my Instagram feed or Facebook, and I know they're coming because I've approved them all, uh-huh. But I still smile when I see them come up. So it depends on how big you want to take your operation, of course, because if you just have one store, Yelp and doing some Google ads is helpful. But once you get to a piece that you're trying to manage different parts of being a owner, I really believe that a functional website. You've seen our website, right? Have you looked at it?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. And I'll, if you don't mind, I'll put a link to it in the show notes and people can check it out.
Yeah. I'd love for them to see it. I just think it's beautiful. And this company is just a 5-star company, the way they run their business. They're fun too. I enjoy working with them. Both of them, Harmony 3 and Creative Marketing Services.
Yeah, well, that's important too.
It is.
Well, that's awesome secret sauce. I think that's crucial. And even if you only own one laundromat, maybe you don't need to get so crazy where you're, paying a bunch of money for ads and stuff. Right. But you need to have a good website. And
yeah, you do. And people know the difference between one that's done well and one that isn't, because we've been in it too long now with websites for people to know the difference.
Yeah. All right. Well, this section we like to call Pro Tips.
Pro Tips.
And here's the question, and this might be hard for you actually to narrow it down, but what's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to get into the laundromat industry for the first time?
I know.
Okay.
Can I?
Well, you go ahead.
You can both answer. You can both.
Okay. So it's what David already said. It's a broker with integrity, and somebody, by the way, that knows something about the laundry business. You can't find a broker that sells pet stores, groomers. I don't believe. I think you need to find somebody that specializes in the laundry industry and has owned perhaps and operated one and knows how to read a balance sheet.
Yeah.
And to somebody that can really give you good advice. I mean, it's not to say that a broker that's brokering other businesses can't be helpful, but I really think you need to find somebody that knows the business and somebody that's got integrity and that is not just trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you something that is going to be a workable business for you. Because some people get into the laundry business and they're not entrepreneur. I mean, they don't have that spirit in them. They work for somebody else that they get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And as you know, Jordan, nobody knows better than you. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. You have to start point A with having that expertise. Is that what you were going to say?
Well,
is there any doubt? Why do you think I married her? So she knows what I'm going to say.
Yes. Well, and vice versa at this point.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Just start with that.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. And again, I've mentioned this many times. We've talked about this, but my story would look so different if I had found somebody who was knowledgeable and trustworthy to help me get into the industry. And I didn't.
Right.
And it cost me literally tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of emotional heartache.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true because you take your family with you down that journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you need to have a broker that's got integrity and good morals. And will not try to sell you it.
Yeah.
If you have a broker that's trying to sell you every laundry that you bring to them, you better start looking for a plan B and with another broker. Yeah. Somebody needs to be telling you that's not going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah. And I will say that we're very lucky here. We're both in Southern California, and there are dedicated laundromat brokers galore around here. Yeah. But I do a lot of coaching with people all over the all over the world, which has been very cool. But a lot of smaller towns and smaller cities even don't have very many, if at all, dedicated laundromat brokers. And I would say in that case, find a good third party, like a Donna and David, like, somebody who has experience in the industry who can help walk you through that, because the broker isn't going to know the finer details of what makes a good laundromat unless they have been in that industry themselves. Yep. If a dedicated broker is not available, find a good consultant to help you while you're
that is the key, because you have to start with the end in mind. And sometimes if you haven't owned a laundry before, you don't know what that end is. Yeah. Do you want to do fluff and fold? Are you still going to work your full-time job? Mm-hmm. Do you want this to be? And unless you have somebody asking you those questions, you can't make a good decision to buy your laundry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. Well, that's gold, and that is it's literally worth tens of thousands of dollars, that advice. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I wish you would have shared it with me.
I know, Jordan. Well, blame Jenna. Had she met you, years earlier, then we could have been an assistance to you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The way I'm thinking about it right now at this moment is that path led me to getting to know you. So I'm thankful.
Aw, Jordan. That's so nice. Right. Aw, that's so sweet.
Fair enough.
Okay. I have two more questions for you.
Hey.
The next question is, do you have one or two resources that you would recommend for laundromat owners to either help them grow their business or help them grow personally? Do you have any favorite resources?
I think that you want to network. So the more that you can network with other laundry owners, you will develop a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And that can come through your equipment distributors, CLA. There's a number of ways that you can connect with other laundry owners because you'll start hearing a lot of their experiences, the things that have worked for them, things that haven't worked.
Yeah.
And you can learn an awful lot by just keeping your mouth shut and listening to what other people have to say.
Yeah.
And so I think that anything you can do to connect with other laundry owners that also want to connect with you, because it goes both ways. They learn from you, you learn from them.
Yeah.
And then there's always those that are interested in the industry as a whole. It's not just about I'm operating my 2 laundries and that's all that matters. It's more about the industry as a whole and how do we promote it in a positive way that everybody benefits from. Not just the owners, but the end user, the person that comes into the laundry. Why do they come into the laundry as opposed to other opportunities? So I think more that you develop those relationships, the more you can learn.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do it. We still have several people, people that we've met basically through building a lot of these stores. And, we've got one person in particular that I call on a regular basis and just check in with him and what he's doing. And he helped us get into the start our Fluff and Fold side of our company. I mean, we obviously knew what Fluff and Fold was, obviously, but we were doing so many other things that the operations side didn't really come into the front until we stopped building. So yes, very good advice, David Stark. I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. And I mean, that's a big part of why we're doing the podcast, just as a way to get to know other owners, hear wisdom from you guys. And so beautiful, beautiful advice.
Well, I loved your podcast number 2. David and I listened to that and we loved hearing that.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing to reach out to people.
You are, Jordan.
It's working.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And Dave Menz is another all-star in the industry. He was great to have him back on too. So
loved his story.
Yeah. And he's doing cool stuff out there in Cincinnati. So
he is. Yeah.
Good. And I'll link to that in case you haven't listened to it before. Well, my last question for you is, if anybody has a question for you or wants to, even just drop a note and say, thanks for being on the podcast, how can they best get in contact with you?
Well, we've got, through our website, there's several ways they can email us. It's support@sparklinglaundry.com.
Okay.
And, we have an 800 number. They can call 800-960-1627. But the best place really is to go to our website. Yeah. And they can reach us directly from that.
Good. And I'll have a link to that down in the show notes.
Thanks, and Jordan.
Guys, I've been looking forward to this conversation for weeks since we've been planning it. We had dinner not that long ago. Actually, it was kind of a while ago now.
Yeah.
Where the world went crazy.
Yeah.
And
got derailed.
Yeah, I know. It is crazy. But I've been looking forward to it. I thank you so much for being on. I can't wait to have you on for the part 2 and hear the rest of your story, because I feel like we've barely only scratched the surface. And I can't wait for me to hear more of it and for everybody to hear more of it. So thank you guys for being on. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Jordan.
Jordan, have a great day.
All right, you too.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
Absolutely incredible. David and Donna Stark, they are legends. And man, I seriously, I could talk to them all day long, just listening to their stories, gleaning their wisdom. They're such genuine people. I love them. And I love that we're doing a part 2 with them, because I need to learn a little bit more from them. I need to hear a little bit more from them. And I'm excited to do that next week on Tuesday. So make sure, if you haven't yet, whatever podcast player that you are listening to this on, or on YouTube, if you're watching it there, make sure you subscribe And that way you don't miss the next episode or any episode, because we have awesome people coming on all the time. And we're hoping to bring you tons of wisdom that will help you find financial freedom through laundromat ownership. That's the goal. That's why we do what we do. And that's what we want for you if laundromats are something that you're interested in. So make sure you subscribe and do us a favor. Leave us a rating or review so that we can get better for you. We can bring you a better podcast, a better product, so that you can learn more and that it'll be engaging for you. And also just to help other people find us. So do us a favor and go subscribe, leave us a rating and review. And man, I can't wait to hear the rest of David and Donna's story next week here on the Laundromat Resource Podcast. Make sure you're there every Tuesdays when an episode comes out. So look forward to that, and we will see you again next week. Peace.